Hello and welcome to Bipolar Talks, the channel where we mindfully explore the complexities of mental health, emotional healing, and the ways we can gently reconnect with ourselves after life struggles. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen today because by simply pressing play, you are already showing courage and curiosity toward your own growth and healing journey. Before we dive into this meaningful discussion, I kindly ask you to like this episode, leave your reflections in the comments, subscribe to Bipolar Talks, and share this content with anyone you feel could benefit from hearing it. Together, we can spread awareness, understanding, and compassion to those who need it most. Are you ready to take a deep breath, open your heart, and join me as we explore this powerful topic together? Shame, guilt, and regret. Why they matter. Shame is not just an emotion that passes by. It is an experience that can sink deep into the core of our being, silently shaping how we see ourselves and how we interact with the world. It influences the way we build relationships, the way we take risks, and even the way we speak to ourselves when no one else is listening. Guilt, shame, and regret are emotions that everyone has felt at some point, but few truly understand how they work or how they can be transformed. In today's mindful discussion, we will gently unpack what these emotions really are, why they matter, and how they can either hold us back or lead us toward growth, depending on how we respond to them. By understanding them deeply, you will gain the clarity needed to take powerful steps toward rebuilding your self-confidence and rediscovering a peaceful state of mind. Have you ever noticed how certain emotions seem to follow you quietly, influencing your choices without you even realizing it? The key question that changes everything. In this conversation, we will focus on one simple but profoundly transformative question that you can ask yourself whenever you feel weighed down by shame, guilt, or regret. This mindful question acts like a light in the dark, helping you to see what is really happening inside you. By asking this question, you can separate emotions that are useful and healing from those that are harmful and unnecessary. Along with this, we will also explore one powerful choice that every one of us has. The choice that can determine whether we stay stuck in pain or step into a future where healing and growth are possible. This choice is not always easy, but it is always available to you, no matter how heavy your past feels. Can you imagine how freeing it would feel to hold one question in your heart that could change the way you see yourself in your past? Understanding guilt, shame, and regret. Let us begin by carefully defining these three emotions, because understanding their differences is the first step to healing. Guilt is the feeling that arises when you recognize that you have made a mistake. While it feels uncomfortable, guilt is not inherently negative. In fact, guilt can serve a positive function because it motivates us to take action, to correct what went wrong, and to repair relationships that matter to us. Shame, however, is much deeper and more destructive. Shame does not say, "I made a mistake." Instead, it whispers, "I am the mistake." Shame convinces you that you are broken, unworthy, or beyond repair. It tells you that if others truly saw the real you, they would reject you. And this belief can lead to hiding, isolation, and despair. Regret is a quieter but persistent feeling that says, "I wish I had done things differently now that I know better." While it can teach us valuable lessons, regret often traps us in the past, making us relive mistakes over and over again without finding a way forward. By seeing these differences clearly, you begin to understand which emotions can guide you toward growth, and which ones are pulling you away from it. Which of these emotions, guilt, shame, or regret, do you feel has been the loudest voice in your own life? How shame shows up in life. Shame is not only a thought in your head, it is an experience that shows up in your entire being, affecting your thoughts, your body, and your actions in ways you might not even notice at first. In your mind, shame brings harsh self-criticism such as, "I'm worthless. I'm not enough. I'm broken. I'm a failure." These thoughts repeat themselves like a painful echo. In your body, shame shows up through physical signs. You may notice a slumped posture, avoiding eye contact, shrinking back, or freezing in situations where you feel exposed. In your actions, shame leads to patterns like perfectionism, where you try to prove your worth by never making mistakes. Isolation, where you hide from others. Poor boundaries, where you say yes when you mean no. and self-sabotage, where you unconsciously undermine your own success because you believe you do not deserve it. When you notice these signs, you have already taken the first step toward healing, because awareness is the beginning of change. Have you seen any of these patterns quietly appearing in your own life when shame takes over? The healing question: did I do something wrong? Whenever you feel the weight of shame, guilt, or regret pressing on your heart, ask yourself this powerful, mindful question: did I do something wrong? This question is simple, but its effects are profound because it helps you separate toxic shame, which lies to you, from true accountability, which can help you grow. If your honest answer is no, you are carrying a burden that was never yours to begin with. This is toxic shame and it needs to be released. If your answer is yes, then you have identified an area where you can take responsibility and make changes that lead to healing. Every time you ask this question, you give yourself the chance to move out of darkness and into clarity. Can you feel how this one question could become a turning point every time you feel overwhelmed by self-blame? Separating your responsibility from others. Many people, especially those who have lived through trauma, tend to carry an unbearable amount of self-blame for events that were far beyond their control. This happens because, in moments of overwhelming pain, the brain sometimes takes a shortcut to self-blame as a way to make sense of what happened. It tells you that if you were at fault, then maybe you could have prevented it. While this belief may seem protective at first, it becomes deeply harmful because it keeps you trapped in shame for something that was never your responsibility. To help clarify what belongs to you and what does not, there is a powerful exercise you can do. Take a sheet of paper and draw a line down the middle. On one side, write my actions, and on the other side, write their actions. On your side, list only what you truly did. On the other side, write what the other person did. When you finish, tear the paper in half. This physical act reminds you that your choices are separate from theirs. You are responsible for your side only, and they are 100% responsible for their side. You may have been responsible for wearing certain clothes, walking in a particular area, or expressing love imperfectly, but those actions do not justify someone else's harmful behavior. Crimes like assault, theft, or betrayal are choices made by the person who committed them, and they remain responsible for those choices. This realization is freeing because it allows you to release blame that was never yours to carry. You can finally see that the burden of shame is not always a reflection of truth. Doesn't it feel lighter to imagine tearing away the blame that never belonged to you in the first place? Facing true accountability. If after asking yourself that mindful question, you find the answer is yes, that you did something wrong, this is not the end of your story. In fact, this is where your story of healing begins. Facing accountability is not about punishing yourself or drowning in regret. It is about choosing honesty, growth, and transformation. When you accept responsibility for your actions, you stop hiding from yourself, and you start building the version of you who is capable of making things right. To heal, you can follow a mindful process. 1. Take accountability by saying, I made a mistake, without sugarcoating it and without labeling yourself as broken. 2. Empathize with how your actions impacted others, because healing begins when we see the pain we may have caused. 3. Listen to the people you hurt if they are willing to share so you can understand their perspective deeply. 4. Make repairs by asking, what can I do to make this right? And then following through with genuine actions. 5. Learn what skills, boundaries, or insights you need to prevent this from happening again. 6. Choose differently going forward, so that your future is no longer chained to the mistakes of your past. Taking responsibility may feel scary, but it leads to freedom because it transforms guilt into growth and regret into wisdom. Can you imagine how powerful it would feel to turn a mistake into a stepping stone toward becoming a stronger, wiser version of yourself? Why hiding makes it worse. When we feel shame, our first instinct is often to hide. We try to cover up our mistakes, distract ourselves with numbing behaviors, or make excuses to avoid the pain of facing what happened. In the short term, hiding may seem easier, but in the long term, it feeds toxic shame. The more we hide, the more our shame grows in the dark. Avoidance can take many forms. It may look like blaming others to avoid admitting fault, drowning in distractions like endless screen time or substance use, or even labeling ourselves as hopelessly broken so that we don't have to try to change. These strategies may seem to protect us, but they only reinforce the belief that we are unworthy and incapable of healing. True healing comes not from hiding, but from stepping into the light with courage. When you face your mistakes honestly and choose to make repairs, you take the power away from shame and give it back to yourself. Have you ever noticed how hiding might feel safe at first, but leaves you feeling even more trapped later on? Dealing with regret. Regret can be a heavy emotion because it ties you to the past, making you replay the same mistakes over and over in your mind. Your brain convinces you that thinking about it endlessly is helping, but in reality, rumination only makes you suffer more without changing anything. This is why shifting from regret to action is essential. Instead of getting lost in the what-ifs, ask yourself, what can I do now to honor what I've learned from this experience? Even if you cannot undo what happened, you can still choose actions today that align with your values. You can apologize, you can grow, and you can make changes in your behavior that prevent the same mistakes from repeating. If the person you hurt is no longer in your life, you can still make amends through positive actions, by becoming a better version of yourself, helping others, or sharing your story so that someone else might avoid the same pain. When you transform regret into action, you move from being stuck in the past to creating a better present and future. What is one small step you could take today to turn your regret into meaningful growth? The role of connection and healing. Shame grows stronger in isolation because it thrives in darkness, much like black mold. The more you hide, the more it spreads, convincing you that you are unworthy of love and connection. Healing, however, happens in the light when you choose to be seen, to be vulnerable, and to reach out for support. This is why confession and connection are so powerful. When you share your truth with someone safe, a therapist, a support group, or a trusted friend, you begin to dismantle shame's power over you. You realize that the things you feared would make people reject you are often the very things that help them understand you better. People tend to respond with more compassion than we expect, especially when we take accountability and speak from the heart. Healing is not something you have to do alone. In fact, healing accelerates when you allow others to walk beside you. Who could you reach out to today to take that first step toward connection and healing? Final thought. Healing takes time. Healing from shame, guilt, and regret is not a quick process, but it is always possible. Some wounds may feel too deep to heal, and some mistakes may seem impossible to repair, but with time, effort, and grace, healing can happen. It is like watching a broken stalactite in a cave slowly regrow. Drip by drip, day by day, it rebuilds itself. Life itself is full of opportunities to heal, even when it takes longer than we hoped. Be patient with yourself, because every small step you take in the direction of honesty, accountability, and love is a victory. The force of healing in the universe is strong, and it is on your side. Trust that no matter where you are right now, you are capable of growing into someone wiser, stronger, and more compassionate than you ever thought possible. Can you allow yourself to believe that healing, no matter how slow, is unfolding in your life right now? Thank you so much for mindfully joining me in this episode of Bipolar Talks. If this discussion has given you even a small moment of clarity or hope, please support this message by liking this video, sharing your thoughts in the comments, subscribing to Bipolar Talks, and sharing this episode with someone who might need these words today. Every like, comment, and share helps spread healing to those who need it most. Disclaimer: this episode of Bipolar Talks is intended for informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you are struggling with shame, guilt, regret, or any mental health challenge, please reach out to a qualified mental health expert or therapist who can guide you on your journey.